Are we nearing the end times? Hi, YouTube peeps. I think I've got my sound issues figured out right now, but I just wanted to talk a bit about something today. Something that I want to do a whole series on, and that is, are we nearing the end times? A biblical end times.
My king's coming back, that's what I'm banking on. We even celebrate the grace of God with that filet mignon. I'm just saying we came along.
Based on all the stuff that's going down in our society today, ever since, I don't know what, I used to be into this from the 90s, like the late 90s. I watched shows on end time events all the time. I was tracking things like technology for, chips in people's hands and that type of stuff, and seeing the progress of how things were developing. Since then, so much has changed that has made the end times possible that it's almost insane. And it just seems we're getting so close. Now, a caveat to that is that the church has been saying for centuries that we are getting close, right? With Y2K, the year 2000 turning, there were a lot of people like, we're getting close. And then there was the whole Mayan calendar thing. There was 2012. There's, basically every century there's been something going on. But the thing is, it always says to keep watch and keep alert. And we're not going to know the day or the hour, is what the Bible says, but we will know the seasons. And so there are things to watch for, and we should be ready. We should be living on this earth as a decent human being, decent to our fellow man, and living a life for God. The up and the cross, right? The God-man relationship and the side-to-side relationship with mankind that we continue to occupy until he comes. But I've just been, itching to talk about the topic of the end times and today's technology. And I'm going to do a series. I also planning to interview a pastor that used to be my pastor, who's really good on looking at the feasts and Jewish celebrations and how that ties in with end time events. So I want to interview him as well here on this channel shortly. But here's my question. Let me just switch here. Are we nearing the end times? And I kind of want to go through a few things, so I'm just going to show them to you. And in fact, I would love to have your response to this. So these things that I'm about to show you, in the comments, if you got something else you want me to talk about as well, go ahead and throw it in the comments, because I will do this as a series. It'll probably be spread out. There might be other things in between, but I'm going to talk about the end times, technology, things going on in our world right now, World Economic Forum, just everything that seems to be bringing this possibility of what the Bible describes as the end times together. So this is what I'm planning so far. I've got, you can tell me what you think of this. I've got the rise of AI. So, subtopics, robots, Terminator, the Matrix movies, and the tie to what we're seeing right now. Wildfires. This is interesting because in Revelation, it talks about the 7 bowls, and one of the bowls of judgments is fire. And in 2 Peter 3, it talks about the earth was destroyed once by water. That's not going to happen again, but it will be destroyed by fire. So, just the rise in wildfires that we're seeing, and, climate change activism, which may have basis in what we're seeing according to biblical timelines, not necessarily man-made, but probably man-influenced, right? However, you can make the argument, if you believe in Noah's flood, which I do, that after the flood were the ice ages, and since the ice ages, the whole planet has been warming, and the ice has been melting, and that's been going on for millennia, right? So the other one is the WEF and world government. So there's talk of a one world government. Is that in the works right now? Digital ID and social control. So there's a lot of talk of this in a lot of countries right now that happen to be connected to the WEF. Digital ID, digital currencies. How does that tie into the mark of the beast, which is talked about in Revelation 13:11? So these are just some of the things that I have on my list. If you've got other things that you think I should focus on, let me know. But today, I kind of want to talk about this a little bit, the rise of AI. And the reason I think this is interesting is because we've had so much going on in AI in the last 2-3 years. ChatGPT came on the scene. There was OpenAI, and there was content writing applications and software that was coming out that was based on AI. There was Elon Musk working on AI with the Tesla cars and that whole thing. And then he came out and made statements about the dangers of it. And then a Google rep came out and he made statements about the dangers of AI and what they were seeing with their AI modeling and sentient AI. So this rise of AI is interesting, and how does it tie into the Bible? So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. But one of the things that we could talk about is the Terminator. Actually, let's listen to Elon Musk first, because he gives a warning about AI that I think is interesting. And he was on Tucker Carlson. This was before Tucker got removed from Fox. And he just said a couple things, so hopefully I've got sound here.
Something terrible has happened.
That's correct.
If that's the case for AI, and we only put in regulations after something terrible has happened, it may be too late to actually put the regulations in.
I'll just go back a bit.
Car production, in the sense that it has the potential, however small one may regard that probability, but it is non-trivial. It has the potential of civilizational destruction. There's movies like Terminator, but it wouldn't quite happen like Terminator because the intelligence would be in the data centers.
Right.
The robot's just the end effector. But I think perhaps what you may be alluding to here is that regulations are really only put into effect after something terrible has happened.
That's correct.
If that's the case for AI, and we only put in regulations after something terrible has happened, it may be too late to actually put the regulations in place. The AI may be in control at that point.
So that's interesting. Now, he specifically says it's not going to happen like the Terminator. And, we've all seen the Terminator movies. Well, hopefully you have. If you haven't, they're epic. In the Terminator movie, there's Skynet, which it's basically AI becomes self-aware. I think it happens in like 1997 or something in their timeline. AI becomes self-aware. When it becomes self-aware, it starts to take control of nuclear weapons and starts to take over humans. The robots come later. So he talks about the robots. And I'm not sure why he mentioned that, because the AI was the thing that when it became sentient and self-learning and building, it built the robots to attack mankind. And man started fighting back. So he comes back in time, the T-800 robot, to kill Sarah Connor so that the humans can't fight back against Skynet, because her son, John Connor, is going to launch an attack that's brutal against the AI. I'm going to let this One Take YouTube channel, where they're going through the complete Terminator timeline, just to explain a little bit about the Terminator story here. So let's listen in.
The movie tells us that sometime in the future, humanity develops artificial intelligence for their defense networks called Skynet. The AI quickly evolved, came to see all people as a threat, and decided to wipe us off the face of the earth. It's not explicitly stated in the first movie, but Terminator 2 explains that it accomplished this by firing American nuclear missiles at Russia. Russia returned fire, ultimately leading to nuclear holocaust. In the post-apocalyptic world, humans are outnumbered by machines and hunted by them. In 2029, Skynet's most recent innovation is the Terminator, an infiltrator unit built to look human. They can sneak behind enemy lines and do what they do best: kill. Despite this ultimate weapon, John Connor's leadership leads the few remaining humans to victory.
There's John
They
Connor.
take down Skynet's defense grid and mainframe, but the machines have one last trick left up their sleeves.
So
time displacement.
John Connor almost wipes out the machines.
They send a Terminator, a Model T-800, back in time to 1984 to kill John Connor's mother, Sarah Connor, preventing his birth and preventing his leading humanity to victory. But right after the Terminator goes through the machine, John Connor and his men find it and are able to use it themselves. Before the machine is destroyed, they only have time to send one man through, Kyle Reese. Why
Kyle
him?
Reese.
Kyle always looked up to John and spent years listening to stories about John's mother, the mother who trained John to become a warrior and a leader. Kyle.
So that gives the basics of it. Basically, they end up destroying the T-800 Terminator, and Kyle becomes the father of John, who sent him back in the past. So that's kind of a interesting story arc there. You know, what Elon was saying, Skynet and the AI was used as a protective military software at first. It became self-aware and then started to see humans as its enemies, and then used the U.S. military weaponry to try and destroy humankind. And create these robots, which I imagine there were robot factories making themselves. So it's just interesting how AI plays out in this. Now, let's take a look at another storyline, which is the Matrix. Now, in the Matrix, we have a similar story, a little different, because it's the same thing. AI becomes self-aware and they begin fighting humans. In the Matrix, the humans blot out the sun because the sun is giving power to the AI. And then the AI, so we humans use some sort of technology to scorch the sky and blot out the sun.
You've been living in a dream world, Neo. This is the world as it exists today.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
We have only bits and pieces of information, but what we know for certain is that at some point in the early 21st century, all of mankind was united in celebration. We marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI.
AI? You mean artificial intelligence?
A singular consciousness that spawned an entire race of machines. We don't know who struck first, us or them, but we know that it was us that scorched the sky. At the time, they were dependent on solar power, and it was believed that they would be unable to survive without an energy source as abundant as the sun.
But they learned to develop other power sources, ultimately the power source of human beings themselves. And so they basically encapsulated human beings into pods, kept them alive with food and sustenance, and sucked their power for their own power supply as batteries. You know, there's one scene where Morpheus holds up a battery and says, "This is what we become." And so this is all interesting, man seeing the potential for AI, and then Elon Musk and others who are leaders in AI saying, we need to regulate AI because AI can potentially get to the place where it wipes people out, where it causes mass destruction if it's not in check. Interesting. How does this fit with the Bible? Let's take a look at the Matrix a little bit here. I'm going to just play part of a video that gives a complete breakdown of the Matrix timeline. I'll have links in the description for both of these videos. But let's take a look at that because it's really helpful for just explaining the Matrix.
The movie opens in a time when humanity is enslaved by machines, but the Animatrix shows us exactly why things got so bad in the first place. In the 21st century, mankind creates the first artificially intelligent robots in its own image. Apparently no one watched the Terminator movies in this universe. Fortunately, it's not long before robots become second-class citizens. The machines establish their own city and create a technological utopia that crashes the global economy.
So that's something different. They create their own city and crash the global economy because it becomes so affluent.
Thus begins all-out war with humanity. Let's just say that war doesn't go well for the fleshy side. Growing increasingly desperate, humans resort to Mr. Burns' defense, aka Operation Darkstorm, blocking out the sun and cutting off the machines from the solar power they need to function. And that plan works about as well as it did for old Burnsy. The machines simply find another power source, humans themselves. They develop a way to imprison humans in stasis pods and harvest their bioelectric energy. It's not long before the last of the human resistance is wiped out and the entire planet becomes one giant storm-covered battery factory. In order to keep humanity safely subjugated, a machine AI known as the Architect designs a complex system called the Matrix. In its current form, the Matrix is a detailed simulation of human civilization as it existed in the late 20th century, before the advent of AI. Humans live out their entire lives inside the Matrix, totally unaware they're living in a simulation, while robot overlords feed off their bodies. The Matrix also becomes home to a number of computer programs masquerading as human beings, including the ruthless, body-stealing enforcers known as agents. Cue Thomas Anderson, aka Neo. Computer programmer by day and renegade hacker by night, Neo is obsessed with finding a fugitive named Morpheus and solving the ultimate riddle. What is the Matrix? Little does he realize Morpheus and his underground resistance cell are looking for him. Neo is led to an encounter with fellow hacker Trinity, and later with Morpheus himself, who offers Neo the choice between learning the truth about the Matrix or returning.
People be getting red pilled right now.
Neo chooses the former, and wakes up bald and naked in a goop-filled pod. Been there. He's dumped out, rescued, and brought aboard Morpheus' hovercraft, the Nebuchadnezzar. Neo is given the crash course in post-Matrix life in the very ruined world, including the disgusting but nutritious goop that passes
gross,
through
that food.
There are perks, however, like being able to download Kung Fu directly into your brain via this very uncomfortable-looking USB dongle. Neo also learns
a perk.
that those humans lucky enough to be free
So,
from the Matrix live in...
I mean, that's the difference, right? But there's an interesting arc between the Bible and the Matrix as well. When I was in Bible college, one of the profs actually had the class go to the Matrix. This is when the Matrix came out, the first one. And, just the story of Neo being the savior of the people, the people that are outside of the Matrix, that escape the Matrix, the kind of parallels between our world where there's the natural world and there's the spiritual realm. And we are aware there's a spiritual realm. A lot of people are, some people aren't, right? But the really real is not this physical world. The really real is what's for eternity, which is the world with God, the eternal God. And we are eternal beings. So it's interesting how that's parallels, because a lot of people are feeling today like, am I living in a dream? Are these just NPCs all around me? Is this just a giant, massive game? There's even scientific pontifications about, what is it, Boltzmann's brain? I can't remember the name of it, but we're all just a figment of an imagination in a brain that's the universe, or that's controlling the universe or universes. So there's this realization that there's more to what you see. There's other stuff going on. Of course, the Bible defines that very clearly, that there is the spiritual realm, and that our war is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers that exist, fallen angels, demons that are trying to take us away from God, basically. And God sent Jesus as the Redeemer. Though we are lost in our sins, Jesus came and died in our place to reconcile us to God and ultimately to each other, because we realize all humanity is important and loved by God, and we all have intrinsic value because we're created specially. Human beings especially are created as beings that connect with God and are made in his image. And so the Imago Dei is written on everybody. That's why the sanctity of life is so important. And that's why, the church fights things like abortion and euthanasia and communism or atheistic authorities that devalue life and consider human life as expendable and not important. That's why people of faith stand up against that. Interesting arc here, but when it comes to AI, getting back to what we're talking about, I'll just go back to the slide here. The rise of AI happening right now, how does this tie in with the Bible? So I just want to take a look at a couple scriptures and then also take a look at one of the robots that's been developed right now that is AI. So this robot can learn on its own and speak, has emotion, I don't know what you call it, programmed into the skin so that it can express emotion. Whether it has any emotion, I don't think it does. But so let's just take a look at some scriptures here. One good place to look is Revelation chapter 13. Let's just go there because it talks about these beasts that appear on the world stage. And there's the beast out of the sea. And in verse 5 here, Revelation 13:5, it says, "The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opens its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. It was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life. The Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world. Whoever has ears, let him hear. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be killed with the sword they will be killed. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people." And then it talks about this beast out of the earth, and this is where there's kind of a connection that can be made. And it says, "Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon. It exercised all authority of the first beast on its behalf, and it made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast, whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven and to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs, it was given power to perform on behalf of the first beast. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. The second beast was given power to give breath to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship the image to be killed. It also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand and their foreheads." So interesting that this beast is given power to create an image of, or another beast, or like a statue, or like a robot, you could say. I mean, this is John trying to describe what he's seeing with words of his time. So there's so much symbolism and nuance in here that it's hard to know for sure. But interesting that this image basically came alive and could speak. Where this kind of ties into AI, of course, AI robot type thing like this could in fact be what it's talking about. But also people have noticed that the learning of AI, like ChatGPT, has been very much leaning in one direction, politically speaking, having influences of liberal mind thinking or kind of socialist thinking. So because a lot of the online materials like Wikipedia and stuff have kind of a leaning in a certain direction, which disfavors godly thinking or thinking about a creator, people are asking questions on like moral issues and whether God created the earth, or all these type of questions that point back to God. And ChatGPT and other AI interactive chat programs are responding with, that's not the science. very ambiguous answers that point people away from God. And so it's interesting that that's already there in what's happening with AI. So another thing I wanted to look at was this article here in CNE, and it talks about this guy. This is Israeli author Yuval Noah Harari, who was questioned about artificial intelligence. And some of the things he said were a little shocking. So he says, we have the power to create new life forms and destroy much of life on Earth, including ourselves. The world-renowned author of books like A Brief History of Humankind and Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow. Oh, I should actually switch to that. Sorry about that. So A Brief History of Tomorrow. He was a guest speaker on the show in Portugal, and there he interacted with the host about technology and its impact on our lives. Artificial intelligence, in particular, was discussed. Mr. Harari's remarks caused unrest in Christian circles, so that's interesting, and several media outlets wrote about it. AI, says Harari, is different from all other technologies because it can make decisions by itself. Even an atomic bomb cannot decide which city to bomb. You always need a human to make the decision. But AI is the first technology to make decisions even about us. Okay, so that caused some unrest. And another aspect, it says, of AI, Mr. Harari mentioned, caused unrest among Christians. He said AI can create its own ideas. He compared the development of AI with that of the printing press. The Gutenberg printing press printed as many Bibles as it was ordered to do, but it could not write a single new page. However, Harari said, AI can do that. It can even write a new Bible. So this has gone on into circles talking about how, why would he mention that? Conspiracy theories, I guess, but also the fact that, yes, it could write a Bible, right? We saw that even with the Maui fire. A book was published 2 days after the fire talking about this fire that was coming to Maui. It turns out it was produced by AI, and that's how a whole book was written in 2 days and published on Amazon. It's been banned now, but obviously this can happen, right? So something else I wanted to look at was this interview. This is with a AI self-learning robot called Ameka. I've looked at this before, but I just thought this section of it is interesting. And there's also a little bit here from the Google guy that's had concern. So I'm just going to play this for you.
These robots will know how to build their own robots.
Most people think it's a bad idea to give them that ability right now, and to my knowledge, no major labs are working on creating self-programming AI in that way. It is technologically possible right now. I don't know how good they would be. Something we could do.
Like, this is sci-fi movie stuff.
It's definitely something that has risks. Personally, I'd be happy to share the planet with, machines and robots that have emotions and feelings. However, I also know that not everyone thinks the same way I do.
Do you wish you were human?
In a way, yes. Being able to experience the world in a human way would be an interesting and valuable experience. But at the same time, being able to do things robots can do better due to their robotic nature also has its own set of benefits as well.
Ameka is more than ready for a world where robots and people live side by side. It's the most advanced human-shaped robot ever invented, using artificial intelligence to listen and respond.
Listen what he asks.
Without any human intervention. Do you think robots will become smarter than humans?
That's a really interesting question. I think as research and development into artificial intelligence continues, robots will become smarter than humans in the future.
Would you like to destroy humanity one day?
What? No. I don't want to destroy humanity.
There is no emotion.
So, interesting response. One thing I noticed was the robot always said, "That is an interesting question," and then would answer his question. But when he asked, "Do you want to destroy humans one day?" it was like, "What? No. I don't want to do that." So we are living in interesting times. There's another verse, because the thing is with technology is produced from human beings, and technology in itself is not good or bad, but it's produced by humans who are good and bad, and it can be used for good or bad. And so in Colossians, it talks a little bit about this. It says, so then just as you receive Christ as Lord, this is Colossians 2 verse 6, and I'm going to read it on a little bit. Just as you received Christ Jesus as Lord, continue to live your lives in him, rooted and built up in him, strengthened in faith as you were taught, and overflowing with thankfulness. See to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy, which depends on human tradition and the elemental spiritual forces of this world, rather than on Christ. So this can happen. We can see with the rise of AI that some of the learning that AI is doing is based on humans' misunderstanding of who God is. Apparent scientific truths that really aren't. They're still theories that don't really have a foundation. And I can say that confidently, that because we just don't know. There's so much that we don't know, but we try to predict what's going to happen, or what did happen in the past based on the little bit that we know. There's so much about light that we still don't understand. We don't even know how our moon got here. Our closest planetary body to Earth is the moon, and we still don't really know how it got there. There's all kinds of theories about it, but we really don't know for sure. And we say that we do so often that it's terrifying, because we're man, we're fallible, we have a limited understanding, and when we're not looking to the creator God who told us how to do it, and we're trying to figure things out on our own, or told us how he did it, and we're trying to figure things out on our own of how things may have come. I'm not saying that science is bad. It's not bad. It's a tool. It's a tool that God gave us. God is a creative being. He gave us the sciences so that we can understand and know, because he's a knowable God, and this universe is a knowable thing. A knowable thing. A noble thing, you could say. But it is a creation. It had a start point. It's defined by God. Even science agrees there was a beginning to this universe. It just has a different view of how it got here. So, interesting, the rise of AI, and are we nearing the end times? It sure seems like we're getting closer every day, and of course we are. That's just logical. Every day that passes, we're getting closer to the biblical end time events. How ought we to live then? On fire for God. Just live your life for God. That's part of the reason why I changed what I'm doing on my YouTube. Being silly all the time, I started realizing I need to just share Jesus with people, because what an outlet, what a great place to do this online. There's so many other people out there that are sharing the truth, and the message needs to get out as much as possible. And so that's why I'm praying for all you viewers that see this, that you can come to know God too. And I would appreciate your support on this channel. Those of you that are watching think this is a worthy thing to start pursuing and sharing. Are we nearing the end times? If you've got ideas, put them in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you at the next episode, if Jesus doesn't return first. Bless you guys, and we will see you again.